Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus again. And I have to say, I want to thank you so very much for choosing to stop on this particular post. And I hope it's not too long for you. It is, however, very, very essential. And I'd like to think that you're going to pay special attention to it for the simple reason that it is a love gift, a love message from your Father, the only one that you can ever call Father, God. And it is brought to me by virtue of the Spirit that is speaking through me to you right now. And I think what I would like to refer to this subject matter is the devil has complete control over humanity. I'd like to say that again. The devil has complete control over humanity. What I'm going to do is I'm going to refer to notes that I've made, notes that are a reflection of the thoughts that come across my mind as the Spirit guides me. And so there might be a time when I might say something and seem as though I'm jumping to another subject, but I will be coming back to the point that I was trying to make. So please bear with me and don't think I'm losing my mind because of what I'm doing. I'm just trying to reach you where you are at. You know, in life, my friends and my sisters and my brothers, there are certain things that are non-negotiable. And one of those things that's non-negotiable is the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments, you might have heard of them. They have to do with loving God, loving one another, not lying and cheating and stealing and coveting that which belongs to another, committing adultery, fornication, those kind of things. Those things are non-negotiable. Now, I know many of you have heard that that's the law, and that Jesus came and put the law aside. That's what you were told, but that is not the truth. Jesus came and fulfilled the law. Fulfilled the law. And what does that mean, fulfill the law? Meaning a man just like you and I did it, did not break them, which signifies that we can live without breaking the law. Now, if there's any blessing that comes from that, back when you were totally under those laws, they could cause you to get killed. I mean, you get stoned for breaking the ones that you were exposed of and the powers that mind stoning you for. Now, this is what I'm saying is one of the things, my friends, that's non-negotiable. Now, there is one other thing I'd like to share with you that's non-negotiable. Every human being is a creation of God, your true Father. And when that Father designed you and put you upon this earth, it's not like the fathers that we run across every day or reading the newspaper about. That Father loves you. And what is an expression of that love? That Father, that love prepared that every human being that ever comes upon the face of the earth, they would have to survive. And there are basic essentials that are absolutely necessary for survival. And that wonderful Father made sure that he made available, whether it's in the earth, on the earth, above the earth, seen or unseen, instilling the gifts of knowledge and desire within the human being themselves to make sure that whatever is required to cause the manifestation of that which is essential for survival would be met. That is non-negotiable. You call that a birthright. A birthright, a right for survival coming directly from your Father. It's non-negotiable. Now, there are a couple of things, and in time we have identified that might be negotiable. For instance, in the beginning, people were few, and so they were able to work and make sure that those essentials that were essential, everybody had access to them. But as time spread and people were far and far away, they started using a system called the barter system, where you could take what you make and someone else can take what they make and they can bring them in certain places or visit you wherever you're at and exchange them. That's sort of related to the times when things had really gotten kind of spread across and people brought their gifts to the storehouse, that everybody could access them so that no one would be without basic essentials as far as the other person played a part in. Now, things change. So these are negotiable. Just because it's one way one day doesn't mean it's going to be the same way the next day. It doesn't take away the desire and the need for certain things. And even those things that are sufficient for a time, there might come another time when that is not sufficient. So a new thing is produced to replace the old thing, but its availability to all that need, want, or desire is still right there, and that is considered a birthright. So when we talk about these resources and being exercised and bartered and stuff like this, that means that you might change and it is acceptable. These are negotiable situations. Similar to, I think an expression I've used before has to do with the stone wheel, a wheel. People trying to move things about, and somebody got the idea, God bless someone with the idea, that if you could take a wheel and roll and put an attachment to it so that whatever you're trying to move can be rolled, that would make it easier to move. And at the time, the thing that they came up with was a stone. So they made stone wheels strong enough to carry big items. And they found out that it was much more convenient. But this was negotiable because in time, they realized that not only could you use a stone, but you could use wood. And then even from there, to make the story shorter, they came up with rubber wheels, ladies and gentlemen, that made it much, much easier. Now, can you imagine the situation where you got a rubber wheel and a stone wheel? They both did the same thing, but one was more convenient than the other. And the only thing that happened was time. And because of time, this was negotiable from the stone to the rubber. This is what I'm talking about when I say negotiable. There was a time, many of you might be familiar with, when we had the horse and buggy. The horse and buggy. I mean, it was a lot better than walking, and maybe perhaps just riding on whatever was available. But now you got a horse and a buggy, where you can carry more people. Now that was a change from that walking. That was permissible, negotiable. And now you've got automobiles, you got trains, you got planes, you got jets. All of these things indicate negotiability. Now there in time will come better means of mobility. And you're not held to this as the only way you can do certain things. Now, what happens, ladies and gentlemen, is that the reason that some things remain the way they are is because of ignorance. People do not know that change is acceptable. They do not know certain things, and if they try to ignore stuff, that's only because of their ignorance. Now, for instance, if you want me to give you an example of what I mean when I'm talking about ignorance, I want you to know also in this thought that there is something that's called truth. Now, ignorance is negotiable. Truth is non-negotiable. Truth always is. Ignorance can be changed because of enlightenment or knowledge, the experience of knowledge. Now, for instance, white folks today, they are privileged because of the situation of slavery. They are privileged because of the situation of slavery. Many of them don't want to acknowledge that, and people who were slaves, they have been relegated to a certain status in life, and they know it's wrong. But what happens? White people keep benefiting, having privileges because of slavery, and The people who were oppressed are still oppressed. Now you ask yourself, well, why does that happen? Is it because of ignorance? No, it's not because of ignorance. Because people know these things. People know it's wrong. But there's something that binds them to stick to it, to not change. And what is that? What is that binds people to this ignorance? Well, let's not just start with white people. Let's go back to the beginning. In the beginning of time, when the Father created the earth and put human beings upon the earth, they had the basic principles for life. They had it. They exercised it. And even when the negotiables came along, they were able to do that. But what happened is that there was something that took place in heaven. The same thing that's taking place on earth in the beginning, same thing that is taking place on earth today. There was a power, or an individual, or an angel, whatever you want to call it, that had different ideas about the way heaven worked. The idea was they wanted to be superior. They wanted to be ranked with the superior. They insisted that they could do things better, as you will see in this expression about today. And so they started talking to those about them, influencing them, and got them to agree with them, give them support that, hey, if you listen to me, I can guide you to a better place. Started confusion and turmoil in heavenly places. But it was something that could not exist. This ignorance could not exist in a place where truth reigned. And so in order for truth to be maintained, they had to kick out the ignorance. Those who would perpetuate ignorance and didn't want to change it, didn't want to renegotiate that stupidity, they were kicked out. And so when it was kicked out, it came right down here on earth. Or should I say in the garden? Let's use the garden. And when I say garden, I'm saying that is a place where the peace and the way of God existed. There was no trouble. Everything was going on just fine. Until that same old idea, that same old perpetuator of deception flipped down here in the garden. Well, perfect peace. Now here's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Even when God made humans, He expressed to them the way of life. And it was expressed through what was available in the garden. Everything was available to you, except one thing. And that was designed so that you could establish the reality of choice. You could either, this is your decision now, you could either go according to the rules that have been set about life. You can believe them, trust them, and appreciate them. Or you can come up with something different, which was eating off the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which some people call an apple tree. Anyway, what happened, my friends, have been given in a sense of being that word. It's an expression that easily can be understood. And so when we think about the devil or the snake in the garden, what do we think about? What do we really think about? Do you think about a snake on a tree? Do you really think about a snake on a tree? Let me ask you something when we think about the snake. Have you ever heard or even used the expression yourself? Maybe you've heard your parents use it. Maybe you've heard some associates use it. Or maybe you've been in a relationship where you said there's a snake in the house. Now, when you say that, or when you heard it say it, were they talking literally about a snake? Or were they talking about something that was so deceptive, so low down and cruel, and something that you was almost unthinkable happening? So if they were saying that there is a snake in the garden, what are they saying? They're saying that that same old spirit that was destroying heaven is now on earth. or should I say the garden. And what was happening in that garden with that snake? Well, the snake was who was it talking to? It wasn't talking to Adam. It wasn't talking to the man. It was talking to Eve. Now, I know you've heard a lot of stories, and they've been set up to serve the purpose for which they've served. But the truth of the matter is, that spirit was in a man. Now, up until this point in time, men, they were there. They were there, and everything was going fine. But all of a sudden, that same spirit that was up there now embedded itself within a man, and that man began to talk to Eve. Now, somebody say, well, there were only two people on the earth. No, not necessarily, ladies and gentlemen. Adam and Eve represented man and woman. Adam and Eve represented the two people that were involved in a particular situation where evil got a chance to perpetuate itself in human society. Now, how is that done? If you search the scriptures, it'll tell you that Eve had a child by Satan. And what was that child's name? Okay, out of the children that she had that you were told about, which one of them acted just like the devil? Which one of them seemed to have the same character as the devil? Who? That was Cain. Cain ended up killing a sibling. Now, you know that story. There's this word that's still in my mind. It won't come to me, and it's bugging me, ladies and gentlemen. But many of you know what I'm talking about, and that word will come to me a little bit later on. I guess it's running because I got a lot to say, and perhaps I'm just an older guy. I don't mind bragging. I have lived quite some time. But anyway, this, my friends, is what's happening in our world today. Satan, that same spirit, once it bought into, and once society bought into accepting something other than the truth, all hell broke loose. And from that day to this day, that has spread all over the society. Now, what has been manipulated, what the message has been available to us, is now the choice is doing those things that promotes life, which is of God, or doing those things that promotes death, which is of Satan. So there are only two choices. Now, I know 8 billion people might have 8 billion different choices. But the message is that every 8 billion choices that you might have, individually may be one, or you might have a whole bunch of choices, but every choice that is outside of God's way of life is a choice for Satan's way. I know many of you got your choice. You think you're doing good. You say, but if it's not for life, not just for yourself, but for everybody, then it is a choice for Satan. So don't think for one moment that you're not being used by Satan because you are against white supremacy. No, you're not doing anything to end it. And so you are a facilitator of it. Now, when I speak of heaven, and I just got through explaining to you what that meant, I was talking about the angels being evicted, the ones who did not want to hold on to the plan of life, the plan of heaven. And so, being evicted, they were released to a certain extent, that they went to paradise. We refer to the Garden of Eden as paradise. And they corrupted paradise. And paradise had to be released to what we call the world. And the same thing that was working in heaven, in paradise, is working in the world. And that is Satan. Now, for so you can understand what I mean when I'm talking about this world and the devil and Satan, however you want to refer to it. We have Satan basically championed that same conversation that he had with the people in paradise. Well, what was it? It was a deception to say to the people that some of you might have heard this in your lifetime, are better than others. Yes, some of you are better than others. This is what was heard. Some of you are smarter than others. This is what is heard. Some of you deserve more than others. But under the rule of God, you can only benefit to a certain degree. But if you switch over and start listening to God's way and listening to the way of the adversary, oh, you can really benefit. Now you see, what I have expressed is that God's way is a way that works for everybody. See, God was so wise that he realized that in order for peace and prosperity and the joy of life and freedom and for your dreams to be fulfilled, everyone had to play a role in the process. That means everybody had a job. Everybody had what you call a career of choice. You weren't just stuck in something that you didn't like doing. You weren't just stuck in something just to be doing it. You had options. What do you love doing? This is what you will do. And so every career that was available was interconnected with one another in such a way that what you were actually creating were those basic essentials for survival. I mean, you were doing it. You were creating health care. You were creating education. You were creating housing. You were creating food and clothing. And by all of your needs being met and the ability to whatever else you wanted to do, you had peace. Nobody was without. You had prosperity. You had freedom. You had joy in your life. And your dreams were being fulfilled. But now the adversary comes along and says you can change this thing. So now what you got those who were playing a part in the process themselves, who began to buy into this deception, and in order for that to happen, they had to have more than you. That's what they were told. They deserved it because they were better than you, they were smarter than you. So how do they do it? By lying to you, by deceiving you, by conning you, by you opening up your heart to them, and they coming in like we all together, and when your head was turned, they slapping you back in your head. The same way they took the land from the natives. They just took over. The same way they took other people and made them to slaves. Not just black people, white people have been in slavery too. Everybody's been into slavery. But the same program is what got them there. They were deceived, and they allowed people to abuse them. And they did not turn to God and ask God for, liberation. And even if they did, God requires something of them to truly express the God that you're praying to within your own life. You stand here today, sit there today, and you know that your mother and your father, your mother and your daddy is in your DNA. They teach you. Most of the time you follow what they say. But now you have this connection with God that you've forgotten. Or whoever's been teaching you have not been teaching you proper. And so you're depending upon the lies of another, the deception of another. And so what we actually have in a society is a fake society. Now, don't let me just stop there. God is a good God and a loving God. So let me give you another example. I want you to understand exactly what I'm talking about. I heard somewhere that the devil is not like God. God can be in all places at one time. But the devil can only be in a place. So he has to go backwards and forth. He said walking to and fro the earth trying to see who can find to destroy. Well, he's been going backwards and forth all over the earth, tearing up society, breaking them up, putting his agents in places that would facilitate what he's trying to do. This is what happened for, I think one of the easiest things you can understand has to do with the proletariat. We're talking about the things that were happening in Russia, the things that happened in Germany, the things that happened in Italy. We're talking about where you got dictators who have raised themselves up by threatening the people and being willing to kill people, to get them to bend and bow. Now, you talk about Iran trying to get a nuclear weapon. Well, the devil has been over in Iran. The Iranians are oppressing their people. You talk about in North Korea. I mean, the government there is oppressing their people. In fact, the government all over the earth is oppressing their people. Even in South Korea, those people are being oppressed. Not to the extent that the Northerners are. The devil hadn't gotten a chance to whip the South up yet. And this is the same thing that has been happening in America. The devil was here all the time, or the principles that were employed by the devil. The devil had to leave and go away and left us at a medium thinking that we were doing all right. But now the devil came back. And what did the devil do? The devil came back and what we have today in the White House. Every human being that got a little bit of sense knows that the devil is in the White House. I mean, man has done nothing good except for that one-third of this population that agrees with it. Why does it agree with the devil? Because they are the same character as the devil. The Republicans, you think Republicans care about everybody? They tell you they don't. It's no secret. You think Republicans give a heck about everybody? No, they don't. Not only that, the Democrats don't either. That's why they always settle for less. They try to give you the impression that they're giving you the best that they can give you, considering what they have to deal with the Republicans. But in reality, anybody that's doing anything outside of exactly what God wants is serving the devil. Now, many of you might say, well, how am I serving the devil? I don't understand that. Look at it like this. As I explained to you earlier, your needs were met because you were one people serving one another. Now, when Satan came along, the devil came along and started deceiving the folks, he had to come up with something else. He knew you want your dreams met. Even the people that agreed with him, they wanted their dreams met. And he said you can have more. Well, so what could he use? What could he use to say you can get everything you want? Let me ask you. The lottery. Somebody buys a lottery ticket. And whether the winning is $100, $1,000, $1 million, or $1 billion, when you win that lottery, you figure you can do anything you want to do, especially if the money is big. And everybody who bought a ticket wanted to win that money so that they could be the ones that could do anything they wanted to do. They weren't concerned about the rest of the folks. Hey, you can make it. Next time you buy a ticket, maybe it'll be your turn. So what are they saying? What is it that the devil used to get people's mind off of one another and putting it on something else? What is it that you can use supposedly to get anything you want except peace? It's money. Money. You've heard it said that money is the root of all evil. And some people want to argue with that. They say it depends on who got the money. Well, if somebody got all the money and you don't have money and only the ones that got the money are the ones that can do what they want to do, what's that going to cause? That's going to cause a lot of crime. That's going to cause a lot of violence. That's going to cause a lot of stealing and lying and cheating and everything that the devil does. That's going to cause human beings to do the same identical thing. And it's not but one action that could eradicate that, and that is a return back to what? That which is non-negotiable. Birthrights, standing on the foundation of the golden rules and the commandments. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so do you understand a little bit of what I'm saying when I say that what's happening in the White House right now replicates exactly what happened in heaven. It replicates exactly what happened in paradise. It represents exactly what's happening all over the world. Those places that the devil has almost put his stamp on, and those places back who the devil had not totally controlled, but he had, but not like he wanted to. That's happening in the United States today. Now, you might say the devil does not control everything. Well, let me ask you this. When you start talking about employment, careers, is everybody working in a job that they want? And why are they working? Are they working? Well, I think we just answered that. For one another? Or are they working for money? They are working for money. And when you're working for money, you're not thinking about other folks. You're just thinking about yourself. So, and where's the evidence? The evidence is, for instance, let's look at health care. Everybody on the face of the earth that gets sick need health care. Can everybody get it? No, everybody can't get it unless you got some money. And for those people who still got a little heart, they want to come up with public health care. Some people call it social. But let me say it's the same thing except what? You got the money, you need some health care, you can get it right away. You need dental care, you can get it the same day or at least within a week. If you don't have the money, you have to go through a system that makes you might have to wait a month or 2 months before they can even get you scheduled. Why? Because there's a limit on the availability. You got people who are doing the private medicine. Then you got the public medicine. So the private is restricted to they conform to the availability of money. They want to make them as much money as they possibly can for every service that they render. Money, money, money. And sometimes they are connected with the devil, who will set up some kind of program of you that allow you to get some additional people if you cut back on a little of the fees, so that you get from the government won't be as much. But you'll do it because you're getting some extra patients. And that's bargaining with the devil. And the people suffer. That's how that works, ladies and gentlemen. That's how it works when you start talking about education. Education, everybody needs it one form or another. But we got people, institutions set up saying this is where you get the best education. There's nothing wrong with institutions set up for those minds that require heavier, intense training and understanding than others. But I don't care if you're the president of a university, hopefully they might be kind of smart, I don't know, or digging a ditch or cleaning toilets. Both of them are working. I don't care what your job is. Your job is there because you qualify mentally. You were designed for such. And somebody that's cleaning a toilet, you don't need the same education that a president needs. But you still need health care, food, clothing, shelter, education, all that, everything somebody else needs. So what diminishes that? The devil diminishes that. And people are falling for it. When you come down to housing, it's the same thing. People living in the cities, living in crowded situations, in public housing where you got landlords, I can't think of what you call them nowadays, but nobody wants to deal with them. Then you people move out in the suburbs with big fine 3-story houses, big large yards that are manicured, everything looking fantastic. Why? Because they benefit more from the devil's program than others. Yes, my friends, you start talking about anything, the infrastructure of a city. Some of those cities, let me use Madison, Mississippi. Mississippi is one of the poor states. But you go down to Mississippi and go to a little town called Madison. I don't care. You would be shocked how wonderful that place looks. Then go down to Jackson or Itta Bena or Metal City. And you say, where's the city? Where's the town? Where? It's all gone. Why? Because of the way the system operates, ladies and gentlemen. So this is what I'm talking about, how money and stuff is invested, how it's controlled and manipulate this and that. Man, I got a whole bunch of stuff down here I want to tell you. I'm not going to spend all this time talking about that kind of stuff. But let me get to religion. It's the same old thing in religion. And most of the time, the preachers don't know They were just taught a certain way, and they're coming to you, giving you what they were taught. They taught the scriptures, and they usually talk the same way they heard it spoken. And sometimes some guys might try to use a little bit of their own thinking and make it sound a little bit better and make it sound a little bit different. But the outcome is the same. They don't tell you that the devil is controlling society, that the devil is using money to control and manipulate everything, and that God requires that if you want peace and prosperity and joy, you got to turn back to God's way. You got to start doing things for one another as brothers and sisters, as a family, and taking money out of it. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you that. Before they tell you that, they'll tell you to plant a seed of $1,000 or $10,000, and God will open up a window and let you win the lottery, the big one. They'll tell you that first. So how many preachers, those of you who go to church, how many preachers and bishops and elders and popes have told or are telling you? That word I was trying to find is back called metaphor. Forgive me for taking so long. I knew it started with an M, but it didn't get it. But you know what I'm talking about now. But how many have told you what God's way is? They don't even know what God's way is. The fact that I shared that with you make me look stupid before the public. But let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to know that I have been selected amongst a whole bunch of people. I've been given a gift amongst a whole bunch of people. But I'm no more special than any of them. I have been put here before you to share the truth with you that God has given me. You think I'm appreciated? No, people hate me. I talk to you about the lack of health care because I don't have it. I talk to you about the lack of education because my children can't get it based upon the system, the way it's designed, but I know the way of God, so I can't promote the system's way. My house, we need all kinds of stuff to keep it flourishing or to keep it alive, but it's not available to me because it takes money to do that. And we're living in a system where everybody's looking for money. Nobody's thinking about God. Going to church on Sunday don't mean you think about God. It means you playing the game that the devil lets you play. The fact that you're raising some money, you're supporting a shelter or food shelf or somebody taking some food over to another country, that looks good. The devil loves that. The devil permits that because it keeps your mind off God. God ain't half-stepping. God don't say, well, do this one for this one, but ignore the other. God said, do it for everybody. So if you do the right thing, it works for everybody. If you do what the devil let you do, it only works for that little portion that the devil allows you to do it for. Now, somebody was talking about taxation the other day. Taxes. How the devil used taxes to get your money. Let me ask you something, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just go straight to the point. Man. Let me just go straight to the point. Tornadoes are happening all over the country. Floods. Cars being wiped off into lakes. Houses and buildings falling down. Infrastructure being destroyed. How are you going to repair that? I mean, you're taking money from healthcare, giving it to the super rich. They're taking it overseas so they don't have to pay taxes and getting money back from the government. They are doing that. So, I'm asking you, my friends, how are you going to recover? Are you going to go into debt? The nation, not you as an individual, but the nation, because the insurance can't fix all this stuff up. So you got to go borrowing money from the International Monetary Fund, from the Federal Reserve. You're going into debt to get money to restructure something that you can never pay back. And so you are confined to the service of Satan for the rest of your natural born life. This is the situation that we're in today. And yet God is saying, Marcus, I know you gave your life away over here, but I'm going to give it back. I'm not going to let you die. Come on back here, boy. And then those stupid Marcus go and do something, and then lose his life, and God say, I love you. because I love my people and I need somebody. There's something about you I can trust. So I'm going to save you again. I need you to go out there and tell my people the truth. Because I know you don't care about living. You've been throwing your life away ever since every time you got a chance, you had that throwing your life away. So now I'm going to give you a chance to live for something. And you might die for it, but I know you don't mind dying, so I'll use you. That's why I stand before you, ladies and gentlemen, because God knows I don't mind dying. Oh, I have visions and grandeur about life. I would love to live life at its fullest. I'm not even thinking about that there's a heaven someplace that I can. I mean, if that happens, it'll be a surprise. It'll be a shocker, and I'll be grateful. But if it doesn't, I feel just as good standing here sharing with you what I know is life, and I know what's destroying you. So I feel just satisfied. You know, we say today, oh, I think I might have said that. Yeah, I just got through talking about the natural disasters. Oh, yeah. On the news yesterday, I think the other day, they were talking about a new drug that cures a disease or a sickness. They were talking about it at the age of 2, that being an infant stage. But they're so trusting in this cure that they put as much money on it that I ever heard for a cure. And that was a one-time thing. Now, I've heard them talk about a cure or some medication that would do real good, and they had price tags of $5,000. Now, I'm sure you might have heard of that too. So whatever they said was more than any of that. But I can't believe they were saying the price tag for this particular treatment was $2 million. Now, I never heard $2 million before, but I never heard, $2 million? And they say it's because whatever your ailment is, this cures it. Now, this is what I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody came up with that. If it's true, nobody came up with it. It was a blessing from the Heavenly Father through somebody or some people to cause a manifestation thereof for a drug or whatever it is that could actually cure a disease. Can actually cure it. Well, what was the purpose? For anybody that has that disease to be able to be cured from it, which also indicates that he's done the same thing for cancer, MS, breast, and all these other kind of diseases, that people will not allow, that the devil will not allow it to happen through the people, because people are talking about their interest. Their interest is money, not God. Their interest is the shareholders. The shareholders are the people who are receiving residuals from screwing over people. They might be your neighbor, might be your parents, might be you. You don't give a heck. All you want is what? The money. Because you say money is the answer. And everybody that says money is the answer is a tool of Satan. Let me say that again. Everybody that says money is the answer is a tool of Satan. Now, this is getting ready for a political season. The president running around trying to mess up the minds of the rest of the nation everywhere. And everywhere he goes, they know he's a liar, but they shout up and saying, yeah, they all hooray, hooray for the devil. Hooray for our man. Hooray for the devil, our man, making America great again. That's exactly what they're saying. You might not hear those exact words, but that's exactly what they're saying. And then you got a whole bunch of Democrats running around thinking, my idea is better. My idea is better. Listen to me, America. My idea is better. Choose me to represent you. Choose me to represent you. And you are going there sitting around like spectators. Just like spectators. Blind, ignorant spectators. Rather than making up your mind that you are not settling for anything less than what God's way is. Because that's the only way you are protected, by God's way. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, well, this one would be good for me. Now, somebody else thinking, this one would be good for me. That alone is saying that you're not concerned about everybody else. You're thinking about yourself. And you deserve that demon that's walking around walking around all over America talking about make America great again. That demon that stands before you and lie to your face. That's exactly what you do. I know you don't want to hear me say this, but God is the witness. This is exactly what you deserve. How do you think Trump got to be president? He didn't slip in. You were so confused that he walked in. Confused by devilish stuff. Confused by lies and greed and selfishness. Till he walked right in. Now he's telling you while you're saying, well, we got to get him back. He's telling you to hell with you. He's not thinking about a thing that you're doing. And now you're trying to check the law, trying to see if you got some way to grab him by his tail and hold him back. Let me see, can Mullen do it? Let me see if the courts are going to do it. Let me see. And what if Mullen does? What if the courts have already joined the team of Satan? What are you going to do? Are you going to do the same thing that German people did in Hitler? You're going to do the same thing that Russian people doing under Putin? Mussolini's folks, you're going to do the same thing? North Korea, the same thing? Wherever the dictators are, you're going to bend the same thing? My friends, my God, you got somebody alerting you. You got God putting me up here before you to tell you what danger you're in. I bet I talked a long time now. For those of you who are still listening, I want to thank you. Is there anything else that I need to say? I guess I said about as much needs to be said. And if you don't get the message from it, maybe you can replay it over and over again, or maybe share it with your friends and your family, because that's really one message. The message is that if you want peace, and you want prosperity, and you want freedom, and you want joy, and you want your dreams to come true, there's only one way. That way is that you, my friends, have to make a choice to do it the way that would produce that. And that is caring about every individual as if it were you. And that is the only way you can honor God. And if you're not doing that, the floods will come, the hurricanes will come, and you will find out one day that you're going to need some help. And there will be no one that gives a good coon stink about you, because the devil really doesn't. So all I'm saying to you is, while you are alive today, while you still got blood flowing through your veins, while you're still dreaming and hoping and believing that something wonderful can actually happen in your lifetime, not after you die, but in your lifetime, it is now the time for you to make the choice. And this is non-negotiable. If you want that freedom, if you want that peace, that prosperity, and all your dreams being met, you got to do it God's way. Non-negotiable. Now, what I can say is this. The only thing that is negotiable about it is that your whole lifetime has been going away from God. Changing from the rubber wheel back to the stone wheel. Now that's a better description. Changing from the jets and trains and planes back to the horse and buggy. That's where you're headed. But you still got the choice. And it's not a great big thing, ladies and gentlemen. All you got to do is decide that you're not going to go along with the program. Sure, we need health care. So we need to make sure that everybody continues to provide health care. We need education. We need to make sure that everybody have access to education. Housing, we need to make sure that everybody got access to it. So basically what we're saying, we need to recapture all of the resources that God has given us from those thieves who stole it. They might have used the law, but they stole it just the same. And you allowed them to take it. You allow them to take it, now you take it back by utilizing it to do all of the things that needs to be done, that's necessary to be done to meet the outcome for which you're out to get. And don't charge no money. Just make sure that everything that you need, that you want, that you desire has an abundance of an existence, and all you got to do is access it as you choose. The devil can't do a thing about it. Oh, when you see people saying we got to build our nuclear armaments in Iran or North Korea, what are they saying? They're saying they're the devil too. And they're not going to let another devil rule them. These other countries that are trying to get nuclear weapons, they are basically saying we are not going to stand by. They're not righteous either. But they're saying we're not going to stand by and let any country do to us what Americans did to the natives. We're not going to let any country, I'm using America because you know America, stand by and let America do to us what they did to blacks. That's what they're basically saying. We're not going to stand by and let Israel do to us what they're doing to the Palestinians. No, we're going to put up our muscles. We're going to fight. That's the devil fighting the devil. And when the devil fights the devil, everybody loses. Everybody loses. Don't think these people are just flexing their muscles. The devil got them doing it. The devil got them doing it. For the what purpose? Of destroying the human race. For the purpose of destroying the human race. But it's going to take a nation, if he wants to be great again, to stand up and be used just like God is using me. And everybody might hate you for it, but I guarantee you one thing, won't nobody mess with you. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, this has been Eddie Marcus saying, thank you so very much and bye-bye.